Howdy, and welcome to the 10 at 10 for July 9th of 2024. Y'all, we're MrMaple.com. We talk about 10 new trees every single Tuesday and Thursday. And guys, we're listing 20 trees today on the website at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
What's up, guys? I'm Corbin. We're going to talk about 10 of them today. Starting off with a classic Japanese maple, Acer Pom Marawa.
Yeah, this is the red lion's head Japanese maple, a dense dwarf with some brick red color and some nice twisting leaves similar to that of Shishi.
Yeah, I mean, this is similar to Shishi. It's got more of a ruffled leaf whenever, you know, it fully matures out during that summertime to springtime. And also the colors are pretty amazing on this. Play with this a little bit in some shade and some heat. Full sun is great to really pick those reds up, but I really like that almost purple greenish color that it gets if it's in a little bit of shade.
I mean, this is such an awesome tree. It's really underrated for fall color as well. It goes through some nice shades of orange in the fall. Has a really nice regal stature, being a really strong structure, dwarf, compact, fits in a lot of small spaces, great container plant, but really pairs well with many other Japanese maples because it's not your typical shade of red that you have with a red Japanese maple.
Yeah, this was one of the first trees I purchased working here at Mr. Maple. Got one for my mom for Mother's Day. We had some nice 7 gallons. Plopped it in, you know, fairly sunny spot. It's just kind of eating that up, picking those really red colors up. But I love how it kind of keeps that green eye throughout the season.
Yeah, and the green stemming really gives a good contrast against the foliage as well. For me, for a red dwarf Japanese maple, this is an amazing plant that many people need to have in their garden.
Love the structure on this one as well. Let's see what's up next. All right, guys, Acer Pom Chica.
Yeah, this is a selection from our friends in Japan, named after one of our friends, Chica. It has a nice weeping habit. It's a selection from a temple in Japan, and it really gives some really nice shades of yellows to oranges in the fall.
Yeah, I love how small the leaf is. That was the one, you know, something I always remember about this tree. Really nice weeping habit, and, you know, the smaller leaves really give something to that. You know, you can get really nice forms with Ryusin and that sort of stuff, but that smaller leaf is something that you're going to look for in Chica, and that's something that it provides in that landscape.
Our good friends Chica and Hisayonora Kojima, they actually are the ones that named this tree. They actually studied and interned under Brian Upchurch at Highland Creek Nursery in Fletcher, not far from here. Came and visited our nursery when they were here as interns, and then when Matt and I went to Japan, we went and visited them. And we got to see their family, meet their family, see all their cool plants. And this, named after Chica, is an amazing plant just because, 1, it's named after a friend. 2, it came from a temple in Japan. 3, it's a beautiful tree in the garden.
Guys, that's what I love about maples. It's not just about the trees. It's about the connections you make, and you really realize how small that maple world is. You know, it's like Matt and Tim know people that know people here. They live in Japan, and, you know, there's so many overlapping connections that happen in this hobby, and I think that's one of the coolest things. It's like there's just so much of a story to this specific tree. All right, guys, Acer Oliverum Hot Blond. I mean, we talk about this tree till we're red in the face, and I'll talk about this tree till it's red on the leaves, man.
This is a really nice Acer Oliverum that's a bright golden yellow. Matt and I found as a chance seedling at the Keith Arboretum in Chapel Hill. This thing was amazing, and it started showing this yellow color right away. The more sun you give Hot Blond, the yellower this tree gets. This is an Acer Oliverum X Shirasalanum. You may find some documentation that says X palmatum. That's because they've heard us say it's a hybrid with a Japanese maple. There are many Japanese maples out there, guys. This one's an Oliverum X Shirasalanum. It leaves out late, and it has the colors of Acer Shirasalanum aureum, the golden full moon maple, but the vigorousness of Acer Oliverum.
Yeah, I mean, the praises cannot be said about this tree enough. I love how that it gets that bleached effect during that heat of the day. You know, it will almost turn white. That's how yellow it is. I love the red outline that it gets as that yellow becomes more picked up. And I mean, the colors on this thing are absolutely outrageous during the fall time. And I'm seeing huge trees coming from those trucks sometimes. The tree we planted over here on the hill is, you know, not even that old. I remember I was like, man, that's got to be a 10-year-old tree, right? And Tim's like, nah, about 5 years old. And it's just like 6 foot tall. You know, it's about 4 foot wide. And this is just a tree that's going to get some height in your garden, and it's going to cause some drama in there.
Yeah, that's one of the things I like about Hot Blond is it's vigorous and it gets out there very quickly. It makes a statement in the landscape, but it really does love the sun. If you give this more shade, it will be a little greener and it won't be as vigorous. You give this tree the sunlight, you'll peak up those yellow colors, and the new growth flushes in the summer can have these apricots to salmon pinks on the new growth in the summer. It is an amazing tree with amazing fall color as well. It's one of my favorite fall color Japanese maples, and the fall color lasts for quite a while. To me, it's hard to beat Hot Blond.
Can't beat that late leaf out as well, missing all those early frosts.
And we recently did a podcast on the heat seekers. You should go check that out. We love the Acer oliverum and the superpowers it can bring for Japanese maples, for people growing in high heat areas. Check out our heat tolerant heat seeker series that we just did on the podcast.
All right, let's see what's next. Guys, Acer Pom Marawa, Yellow Submarine.
Do we all live on a Yellow Submarine?
I mean, I think that's what the Beatles were talking about. We got Acer Pom Marawa, Yellow Submarine, a sister seedling to Dragon Master.
Yeah, and this tree leaves out in the spring with some bright oranges, heavily cascading habit. We don't offer this tree that often, but sometimes it's fun just to throw it in there, something cool that people can get as a yellow weeper. This was one of the sister seedlings with Dragon Master, and it's one we won't offer very frequently, but it's one that's really cool and gives you some dynamic color out in the garden with that extremely pendulous and cascading habit.
Yeah, you can definitely see that it's in that same lineage. I think definitely has a lot more kind of funkiness going on with those twisting and curls and the the structure of the tree. Definitely something a little bit different than Dragon Master that you're going to be getting with this one. I mean, I love the name, obviously. It's pretty awesome. And this thing is, just, it doesn't get very far out before it tries to hit the ground, which is always nice for some ground cover trees.
And these are low grafted, so they make great hanging baskets as well. We've got a full video on how to make a hanging basket Japanese maple. You can definitely do that with these Yellow Submarines. This is a pretty cool tree that you can stake up to about 6 feet, let cascade down in that fountain effect. You can train this in so many different ways because this heavily weeping habit is very predictable. You can let this be a ground cover. You can train this up over trellises. Fun tree, some great colors. This tree, if you give it some sunlight, you'll get a lot more yellows out of this tree. It has came from our greenhouses where many of the yellows are a little more blended green right now.
Yeah, I love the yellows that this one provides. Maybe you could get a whole entire Beatles garden, have a couple different cultivars named in there after some Beatles songs. Who knows, this would fit perfectly right there, giving you some nice ground cover around those trees. And definitely one for those collectors who are, trying to get that whole lineage of maybe the Ryusen, Dragon Master combos, because, I mean, it's such a diverse family tree. All right, let's see what's next.
Guys, next up, we've got Quirkus R Bird, General Pulaski.
Guys, this one, it's always funky looking. It's always easy to kind of tell what this one is too. Reminds me of similar things like maybe like Rezek, but you get that in this oak form. The leaves are so crumpled and funky looking. I've seen some really crazy forms of this one, and I mean the density of that foliage can be so tight, and it looks like a vegetable out there just growing like as a tree form.
Now, there are people out there who collect oaks like they do collect Japanese maples. The English oak is the more sophisticated oak. There's been a lot of selections of English oaks that give a lot of really cool traits that you don't find in many of the other oak selections. And this one, with its twisting leaves, just gives a unique texture. It's very slow growing, stays fairly narrow out in the landscape, and it pairs well with many Japanese maples. So it gives a funky texture out there to put out there next to your red lace leaves. That's really going to add a dynamic presence in the garden.
Yeah, I mean, this is an awesome one to have in like maybe that dwarf garden. Throw Kuranajishi in there. Throw that red line, or throw that Shishigashira in there. Throw, Rezek, and then throw this one in there. You're going to get a bunch of trees looking kind of similar, but everything's going to have a little different taste to it. And I mean, it's going to be looking crazy during the fall time when all those crazy ruffled leaves are going to be putting on a show of color.
That's for sure. This is a cool tree. It's going to sell out quickly today. make sure you check out fast because the website doesn't hold it for you until you complete that checkout process.
All right. Guys, 4th of July just passed, but it is never too late for a celebration.
Yeah, Celebration is one of my favorite Japanese maples. It gives you some pink red colors that are unlike any other Japanese maple with strong reticulated variegation. It's one of my favorite trees from Talon Buchholz. It has a really nice strong upright habit. The summer growth color on this just brings that red color back in the garden. It's awesome.
Yeah, this one, you know, I know Brian Rule kind of was throwing the term alien skin out. And I mean, I'm looking at this thing. It's looking pretty out of this world right now. And all those reticulated forms, they're just crazy, man. I mean, you know, throwback to whenever we were at spring, we were looking through some of those crazy ghost types and just seeing just the variety that these kind of reticulated trees provide is always so interesting. You know, no leaf looks the same, no color and shade are the same. And Celebration is always one that pulls my eye during that summer and that springtime. It'll just keep you coming back.
Now, I do recommend morning sun, afternoon shade to peak this color and hold that color longer throughout the season. But this tree just keeps providing color all throughout the season with the new growth flushes. This is a rock star in the garden. If you don't have it, you need to get one today because they will sell out. We try to offer this as much as we can here on Mr. Maple, but it's one of our most popular trees that we offer, so you better get one today.
Yeah, definitely know why. Play with that shade and you're going to get some very varying colors in there. Guys, for that special lady out there, we got Acer Pom MrMaple.
Y'all, this is a tree that we had to track down from Talon Buchholz. We're Mr. Maple, and he introduced Miss Maple, so we're like, man, we've got to get that tree. I remember doing a presentation in Atlanta for the Southern Nurserymen Association, and this is one of the trees we were talking about that Talon introduced that we didn't have yet at the time. This tree is awesome just for its very light reticulated variegation with strong prominent veins.
Yeah, I love the color that this one provides. One of those newer entries from Talon, and it's just one that, you know, he's had his time to kind of sit and simmer on. I'm sure it was sitting in that rising star category for a minute. And one day he was like, all right, it's time to put this one in. The people are ready. And Miss Maple is one that's just going to look great with something like that Celebration. Get that play between those light pinks with these light lime greens and that sort of thing. And I mean, the reticulation on this one is amazing too, getting that green on green.
Matt's got a gorgeous one of these planted in his gardens. Strong upright habit, and this tree just gives you great color all throughout the season. The fall color on this can be some really nice shades of bright red, and often you can still see that reticulated variegation in the fall color. To me, this is an amazing one of the new ghosts. As a tree, again, many people need to be growing. Pairs really well with that Celebration we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, man, if you're in a little bit of hot water for buying too many maples, maybe pick this one up and say, honey, this one is for you. So it's okay that I got this one, right? But I mean, definitely a showstopper in that garden.
Next we have up Acer Pom Nebula.
Guys, this is the reticulated 10 of 10. We're bringing all that heat for those new ghosts. I mean, Nebula, always one that caught my eye in the greenhouse as well. I just love how much of a fade this one kind of has on each individual leaf. You know, kind of getting darker from the edge of the leaf and getting really, really light as you go towards the center. Looking like a kind of a galaxy type deal.
Yeah, I love this tree in the early spring. You get pink color on the leaves with strong green reticulated variegation. New growth flushes during the summer can be a white with shades of pink in there, and you see different colors in the veins as well, looking like the Milky Way galaxy's nebula. I mean, this is an amazing, strong, upright tree, bright red fall color. To me, one of my favorite of the new ghosts. It is one of the most dynamic in the colors. It's got a good strong form, good vigorous habit, and great fall color. All the way around, this is a killer tree you should be adding to your garden.
Yeah, and like we know, we've looked through a bunch of different reticulated varieties this time. Each of those lobes kind of has a different look to them, maybe more serration, a little bit slimmer in some areas, and it really does, you know, you start to notice the kind of nuances of each leaf, especially as you're looking at a lot of very similar varieties at the same time.
Yeah, and Nebula is one of those trees that stands out, and for me, it's a winner. And when it comes to being a tree like this, put it out in the garden, put anything next to it, and it's going to look and add an amazing presence in the garden.
Yeah, those pink kind of articulation, especially, you're getting that pink and that lime green, just kind of like, you know, that type of celebration and kind of Miss Maple mixed and married into kind of one plant where, you know, you could put both of those together, put this one in the middle, and you're kind of going to get that whole entire spectrum of color.
Hey, we're offering a bunch of New Ghosts today. We've got a New Ghost podcast as well. Make sure you check that out where we go and talk about our favorites of the New Ghosts and talk about each of the new selections that Talon Buckholtz introduced without that name Ghost on them.
Huh, I wonder where this one lands.
Guys, next up we got Cersei's Hearts of Fire. I know everybody's been so excited waiting for this one to come in. For me, this is an amazing new selection by our friends in Belvedere, Tennessee, Ray Jackson. This tree puts on some amazing red colored new growth, bright fiery red, going to maroon, going to that darker green color.
Yeah, I love all the different varieties of redbuds that we've been getting in lately. Seeing kind of that native redbud and kind of all of these crazy varieties. You know, we got pink and white ones, we got these crazy red varieties, and Hearts of Fire is definitely one that's really interesting to me. You know, kind of a darker shade of red, you know, to that deep green that you get adds such a nice contrast in the garden. And I mean, that red is so rich, almost looks like an apple, you know, you could take a bite out of.
For me, I love the name Hearts of Fire. You get the redbud leaf, which looks like a heart. You get these fiery red color new growth to it. The redbuds are known not just for their foliage though. In the springtime, before these leaves come out, you get clusters of pink-red blooms all across the base of this tree. So this is a flowering tree for the landscape that gives you dynamic foliage as well. That's just a winner all the way around. And this, being Hearts of Fire, it's got a nice, almost compact habit. You'll notice a little more compact habit than many of the other redbuds. And the colors on this, they're unreal and they're amazing, and they add a lot of good contrast out there in the garden. I mean, this pairs with the Japanese maples because the foliage is so beautiful.
Yeah, I love the shape that you get from redbuds, you know, a very almost symmetrical look if you put them in enough shade. And it's just always awesome watching that branch kind of leaf out and see all those kind of, I love how they vary in size all the way up the branch, and, you know, definitely get some cool symmetry going on with the redbuds. And Hearts of Fire is going to look awesome during that first leaf out, and then as that summer comes and starts picking out more and more of that color, it's going to look great in the garden.
Now, when this tree is at its peak, we're talking July, August. You give this tree some sunlight and you get the July, August heat on it, you get the most dynamic colors on the leaves of Hearts of Fire. It's hard to beat this tree when you see this. I mean, I've been out there and you just see fields of this tree at Ray Jackson's place, and you see this tree just thriving and seeing all the beautiful colors. This is an awesome tree to do mass plantings with. It's an awesome tree to line your driveway with. It's hard to beat Cersei's canadensis Hearts of Fire.
Oh yeah.
Guys, next up we've got Acer Pom Marawa.
Oh yeah, pine bark maples, one of my favorites, favorite kind of varieties. I love just that old look that you get from the maples as they slowly start to bark up, and it's just something to add to that garden for the winter time, add contrast with some ground cover, and it's just something you don't see very often, I feel like.
The bark on Arakawa is probably one of the deepest serrations of the bark of any of the pine bark maples. The name is sometimes referred to as the alligator bark maple. That's because it gets such deep fissured bark on Arakawa. This means it looks older, it gives a more dynamic presence out there, and it makes an excellent bonsai if you want to put this out in the ground, take cuttings off of this, and do bonsais from those, or air layers, you can do that. Or you can take this tree and turn this into a bonsai itself. Whatever way you want to do it, this is an amazing tree, not just as a bonsai, but in the ground. This tree makes a statement, gives that older presence in the garden, excellent for fairy gardens, excellent to sort of add that age distinction to a garden to give a more regal presence. And the fall colors on Arakawa are some of the best of any of the Japanese maples. And we often forget that because, you know, it is a pine bark. It is one of the best, that's the coolest trait about this. But if you compare this to other Japanese maples, it does have some amazing fall color.
Yeah, I mean, we put a pine bark in on the side of the hill, and just the presence it has in there with its just strong structure, and then you get that deep serration on the bark. It just looks unreal. And then I can't wait to see it during that fall time. You get that play between those kind of dark, deeper browns with that fire orange, and it's just kind of just going to light up the garden for sure.
Now guys, we've got an open house coming up that's going to be July 26th and 27th from 8 a.m. to noon. You're going to want to be here. It's going to be a lot of cool people, cool plants, and guys, get here early because it's the summer and it's not cool. It's cool in the greenhouses in the morning. That's the reason we have a hard cutoff at noon, because we want to get people and our employees out of those greenhouses before it gets hot later in the day. Guys, it's one of our most favorite times of the year, shooting top fives with people, seeing people, getting to talk trees. Come check out our greenhouses and see what these cultivars look like in the summer so you can figure out what your summer garden may look like.
It's always great because sometimes you'll see something in the garden you didn't know you needed. Sometimes you see that perfect tree you've been looking for that's got great structure and, you know, just looks fantastic. And it's time, you know, you get to hand pick all that stuff and kind of see what is not always on the website. So awesome time to get to chat with, you know, Tim, Matt, you know, even Joe will be here. So it's always a great time.
So y'all, thanks for jumping in. These trees get listed today at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check your weekly email for the other 10 trees that are getting listed. Take care.
God bless.
And have a great day.